Yeah, thank you very much. I really enjoyed Ambassador Reiter's excellent presentations on the issues related to economic security. And I just made some points here. And like I said, it's an excellent presentation, and it has a comprehensive analysis of the issues related to economic security. And the presentation had many important observation points, particularly for formulating economic security policies. And also, we really enjoyed listening to him when he talks about the EU policies on economic security. Now, I have some questions. But before I do that, let me just recap or kind of share with you the slides which I really thought very important. This is the point about the security policy. Security, like foreign policy, starts at home. I'm kind of repeating his points, which he made earlier. Economic security starts at home. Robust economic performance is very important to have good economic security. We need good leadership in critical technology to protect the economic security. And financial stability is also very important for achieving economic security. And the last but not the least, no isolationist concept. This is related to maybe friend sharing, although we don't know whether friends will be eternal or not, but it is very important to have friends. Now, this is another slide which I took from his presentation. Economic security strategy needs to be defensive, offensive, creative, need for reform. I'm not going to repeat. I'm not going to read these sentences because he explained these concepts very clearly. Now, let me turn to my questions. Now, all my questions are on EU economic security strategy. One of the slides says this: protecting EU economic security. This would be done in a proportionate and precise way that limits any negative unintended spillover effects on the European and global economy. This, I think, observation, in my view, is very similar to what Jake Sullivan said some time ago. He wants to make small yard high fence to protect the economic security for the U.S. and other countries. And so my first question is this proportionate, particularly proportionate. What do you mean by proportionate way that limits any negative unintended spillover? If you could give us some maybe specific examples, that would be very helpful for us to understand what you mean by this economic security can be done in a proportionate way. And then, I guess this is related to the question that I just raised. How could it be done? How can we implement economic security policy which would limit any negative unintended spillover effects? So this is the second question. Now, on EU economic security strategy, again, these are two slides which I found very informative. And now, regarding the EU's relationship with maybe other countries, I have a question about the EU policy toward other countries like Japan and the US and China. And as for partnering, this is, I guess, measures applied to friends like, I guess, Japan. And here, what specific policy that you can think of in doing what this message says? In other words, finalizing trade agreements. With Japan, we know that we have a EU-Japan Economic Partnership Agreement. Are you thinking about updating this agreement to achieve this first point, furthering and finalizing trade agreements? And second is reinforcing partnership like connectivity and digital. And here we have, this is under WTO somewhat, not the bilateral. We know that the WTO has a joint statement initiative, and one of the initiatives is the digital trade rules. Negotiating, there's a negotiation underway. So are you thinking about EU and Japan get together and to promote or to further this kind of negotiation on digital trade? Is that one example? And then strengthening the international rules-based economic order and multilateral institutions such as WTO. Here, we know there's a problem with appellate body and MPIA, multi-party, I guess, interim arbitration arrangement has been established, and the EU, I guess, at the initiative of the EU and Canada and so on. And so is this one of the examples, smooth working of, the MPIA, is that one example that we can think of? And then finally, global gateway. I think you explained to us this is infrastructure, I guess, vis-a-vis the global south. But I didn't know this global gateway, so I wanted to know more about global gateway. Now, question number 2, that is EU policy toward the US. How will the EU achieve these objectives that I just went over in a previous slide with the US if Donald Trump becomes the next president? And I guess one question, the related question is, how do you see the President Biden's trade policy, which is different than Donald Trump's policy or not? I think that's a related question. Now, finally, on China, what's the EU? This is a very broad question. I'm sorry to be so broad, but what's the EU's policy toward China? Non-friend. So if you can just give us a brief presentation of what the EU's policy toward China will be very appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairman Urata. Professor Reiter, would you, may I ask you to respond each question?
Yes, I will do my best and to do that within the next hour, approximately.
Just pick up the one that you like, please.
Well, the first question, what do you mean by proportionate and precise? Well, I think when you take policy measures, you have to have a clear understanding what the effects are. I mean, when President Trump at the time was implementing the tariffs on aluminium, then a lot of partners, including Japan, including the European Union, including Korea, were hit. And then people were saying, "Oh no, this was not our intention, but that's the way it is." So I think this was not precise. It was not proportionate. It has done economic. It has done economic damage, and it has also done political damage. So I think this is something which they're precise, proportionate. What do you want to achieve, and then take the measures accordingly, and not across the board. You have heard me heard several times saying all this near, friend, whatever shoring should not be applied across the board. I think one has to be very clear, single out products, single out sectors, and apply it. Otherwise, it is neither proportionate nor precise. So I think that also covers question number 2. when it comes to the global gateway, which you mentioned, well, the global gateway at the time was done, is an important sequel to the Indo-Pacific strategy of the European Union, because the global gateway is a very concrete policy paper with dates and with money. So 300 billion euros were assigned to that project. Then a split was made basically between the Indo-Pacific countries, or let's say the Pacific countries, and Africa, because in the understanding of the European Union, the Indo-Pacific also covers Africa, which is, by the way, also the understanding of Japan and Indo-Pacific. So the global gateway provides the necessary means for actions which are explained in the Indo-Pacific, and they are basically on top of the normal development aid which the European Union is giving. And if you take the European Union and its member states together, it is always still the biggest donor of official development aid. Now, the EU strategy towards countries which you have mentioned, well, the question concerning Japan, well, I mean, I did not have really Japan that much in mind, because we have these two agreements, the economic partnership agreement, which is, as the title already says, much more comprehensive than a free trade agreement, and it is connected with the strategic partnership agreement, because, and that's also something new perhaps in the relationship between the European Union and Japan, economics only is no longer possible. So therefore we have a political and an economic agreement. The interest which we have with I think with Japan also is very much cooperation in third markets, the ASEAN countries. European Union is negotiating bilateral free trade agreements with ASEAN countries. At the end, and that was decided when ASEAN was elevated to a strategic partnership, there will be a region-to-region free trade agreement between the European Union and ASEAN on top of bilateral agreements. Some free trade agreements with Singapore, with Vietnam, with New Zealand have already been concluded. With Australia, we were very close, and in the last minute there was an obstacle which hopefully will be overcome shortly. Now, when it comes to the United States, well, I think many strategic thinkers are thinking hard what to do when Mr. Trump comes back. In trade policy, I'm always a little bit cautious in that sense, because the Biden administration did not change that much when the trade policy of the Trump administration. So I think we got used now to a certain relationship, which is not necessarily the best way which we have. And I think there is interest between the European Union and Japan to pass on the message to the present and future administrations that one has to be more careful, more precise, more proportionate with measures taken by the United States. And I think that brings me to question number 3. Neither the European Union nor Japan wants to decouple from China. That doesn't make sense politically, and it doesn't make sense economically. And that means that the policy approach is a different one. That does not mean that you are completely open and that you accept everything which China does. Far from that. I think one of the elements why the European Union has now a proposal for an economic security strategy is precisely that countries like China are not always playing according to rules. therefore, the European Union in its China policy will remain open. I think there is a good basis which goes back to the policy document of the European Union vis-à-vis China, in saying, well, China can be a partner which we need, climate change. China is a competitor. Well, that's normal in a free trade economy where there is competition. But China is also a systemic rival. And I think whenever you have policy steps to decide, you have to think mentally, am I in category 1, 2, or 3? And then you will take decisions accordingly. There are new challenges also with China. We had, and that's I always find that interesting, in areas related to fighting climate change. We had the history with solar panels, which China produced very cheaply. There was always suspicion. There was subsidies, and many European and also American, and I suppose also Japanese companies could not withstand this competition there, and it might not have been fair competition. We face a similar situation now with batteries, with electric cars. The European Union has announced that they will check whether this is a case for anti-dumping or anti-subsidies. And we have another looming are the windmills. But interestingly, that these are all three products which are part of the category of fighting climate change. So I think this is also, there might be more policy behind it than just a trade policy. And I think this is an area where the European Union, with this fine approach in three categories, has shown a way. This was taken on also by others. But nevertheless, we have elections to the European Parliament this year. We will have a new European Commission, and I'm pretty sure that the new Commission will have very high on its priority list to have another look on the China policy, because it's not easy to keep one policy line vis-à-vis China within all 27 member states. So I hope I covered everything you asked me.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Professor, for your answering the German question. We will now move on to the question and answer session. Well, the time is now running, but let me pick up the simple question. There is a question about the EU's bureaucracy. If in the EU, industrial policy and economic security policy implemented integrally, or are they pursued by separate department? Who are handling these two issues?
Mm-hmm. Well, the European Commission is primarily in charge of it, and the European Commission is also organized a little bit like a government, but we don't have ministries, but we have directorate generals, and there is a directorate general which is taking care of industrial policy. So that has an important issue, but then there's also the area when it comes to cybersecurity, which has an economic link. So they are in charge, and as it is a security issue, it is also a part of foreign policy. So it's the European External Action Service, and the High Representative, who is also Executive Vice President of the European Commission, should make sure that within the college of the commissioners, which is the government, if you wish, is taking these decisions. And I must say also the President of the European Commission, Ms. von der Leyen, is very much aware of the importance of these economic issues, of the economic strategy. She has taken a great interest also in securing supply chains. So I think there's a lot of awareness, but the decision to answer the question is taken by the college. for a proposal, and then in the implementation it depends what is necessary. If it is necessary to have legal acts, then it has to be proposed. This goes to the member states, it goes to the European Parliament, or if it can be done administratively, then the European Commission and or the External Action Service can do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Now the Ministry of Economy and Trade and next is try to integrate the two policies, industrial policy and the economic security policy. So I found this question is very important. Okay, now time is limited, but let me pick up the very unique question about the last one. You can see that. Yes, having the experience in being a diplomat in both South Korea and Japan, what kind of project would you suggest for the future of both countries? Do you have any ideas about that?
Well, I think I would put cybersecurity very much on top. The cybersecurity situation for Japan and Korea is very similar. A lot of attacks are coming from the north, and I think there's an interest in cooperation. But on the other hand, also cyber is the best example for international cooperation. Yeah. Because can you tell me where cyber begins, where it ends, or where is cyber, by the way? And I think this is the area for cooperation, and I think there also all political problems should not play any role, and I do hope that this warming up of ties between Japan and Korea will continue, which is in the interest, I think, of geopolitics and not only of geoeconomics.
Okay. Thank you very much. And now it's time to close the seminar, but may I ask the final remarks from both of you, the professor and the chairman? Yes? Okay, so professor first.
Well, I think I would like to underline perhaps once more that the idea of friendshoring in cooperation, in showing solidarity, in making the international trading system, but also the political system, a better place. This is certainly the one which we should pursue, and I think this is a value which is shared between the European Union and Japan. On the other hand, I think sometimes good intentions don't deliver the results they should, and therefore I put this caution when it comes to equalizing friend-shoring to near-shoring and to de-risking. I think one should not be blinded by this friendly term, and Palmerston, I think, had a point.
Okay. Thank you. Chairman, please.
Yes, well, I have a general kind of comment or observation. I think, today's seminar is very useful for us to understand what the EU is doing and is thinking about regarding economic security policy. And this kind of communication, close communication, active communication between two parties is very important. And I guess next thing that we should do, from reality, is to go to Europe and to make presentation on Japan's economic security policy. But again, I think this is very important for us to increase mutual understanding so that we can maybe formulate desirable policy for both countries or both parties. Thank you very much.
I'm sure the Brussels School of Governance in Brussels will host you happily.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for both of you for giving the very insightful message. And now it's time to close the seminar. Today's video and presentation material will be posted on the JT website at a later date. But anyway, allow me to quote the finally the Lord Palmerston. We have no eternal allies and we have no perpetual enemies, but we have a solidarity and friendship between Japan and EU.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.